Move out. You're obstructing a pregnant woman gently caressing her belly, Alicia instructed. I pondered Alicia's comment, wondering if pregnant women truly displayed a kinder expression. Observing the malice on Alicia's face, I shot a quick glance at David. You can sleep in the storage room, Alicia suggested, and David concurred. My lifelong love for him waned instantly, though a touch of sentiment lingered, leaving me somewhat melancholic. All right then, I replied, and in response, David happily took Alicia's hand. Alicia gazed dreamily at David, and witnessing their intimacy replaced my melancholy with anger bubbling up from within. I'll leave by tomorrow, yeah. Oh, maybe you should stay out tonight after all. This is now mine and Alicia's home, David proclaimed joyously. I nodded slightly before exiting the house, contemplating what lay ahead and cracking a smile. My name is Catherine Taylor. I'm a 46-year-old housewife. Before marriage, I worked intensely, but that was over 20 years ago. Nowadays, I enjoy daily chores and sipping coffee, just an ordinary middle-aged lady. But my hobby is investing. I've been doing it since before marriage. Recently, I've been earning significant dividends, treating myself to lavish hotel brunches and spa visits, leading a pretty elegant life. My husband, David, is 40 years old, a salesman for a major company. He's gained quite a bit of weight, and frankly, he's been rather smelly lately. But he's good with words, given his profession. He may look big, but I love him. I felt he should probably lose some weight for health reasons, but he had this cute, mascot-like appeal, so I didn't see the need to force him into a diet. David and I have a daughter, Emily. She inherits David's features. Slim, almost model-like in beauty. Not just in appearance, she's academically top of her class and excels in sports, even making it to national competitions. She's also humble and works hard. It feels like we, the geese, gave birth to a swan. Both David and I dote on Emily, and we've often been told we're overprotective. David has a bit of a weak spot for younger women, but he chose to marry an older woman like me and cherished our family. So I thought a little wandering gaze here, and there was inevitable. We lived in a condo we bought around the time Emily was born, but it was getting old, and they were considering raising the maintenance fees. Recently, amidst all this, Emily decided to share an apartment near her college. At the same time, one of my relatives approached us about inheriting a now vacant house. David and I decided to renovate that house and move there. But who could have known that this would cause issues between David and me, which have been smooth sailing up until then? The condo we had was a 4-bedroom, including a guest room, but the new house is just 2 bedrooms. Although it's smaller than before, considering our retirement, we made it a single story, and it's been very comfortable. One of the rooms, which serves as a study and a guest room, can be divided to make an additional room for Emily if she ever comes back. David started coming home late every night to work dinners, and somehow always found reasons to go out, even on weekends. Sleeping next to David, who would come home reeking of alcohol and cigarettes, was unbearable for me, even if we had separate beds. Because of that, even though we originally shared a bedroom, I've been sleeping in the study ever since we moved. When it came time to send out moving announcements, I mailed letters to various places. David isn't good with that sort of thing. So I took the initiative to send letters on his behalf to his family and relatives. As for me, since my parents have passed away, I simply wrote a brief note and sent it to friends and relatives on my mother's side. I haven't been in contact with any relatives from my father's side because of my half-sister, Alicia. Alicia is my half-sister, 14 years younger than me. When I was in 7th grade, my mother passed away, and about 6 months later, my father remarried. Alicia was born to him and his new wife at the time of their marriage. Alicia was already 2 years old, so I initially thought it was a union of 2 families with kids. About 5 years into their marriage, my father and his new wife were involved in an accident and never returned. At their funeral, relatives from my dad's side told me that he and his new wife had been childhood friends, and everyone had always thought they would end up together. However, My mom had set them up through her boss, and my dad felt he couldn't refuse, leaving his childhood friend out in the cold. To think that behind their smiles, my dad had a child with his second wife was a huge shock to me. Every time we had a family gathering, Alicia's favorite foods were served. She had brand name clothes, and she got the biggest room all to herself. If she said she wanted to go somewhere, they'd take her immediately. Meanwhile, I was burdened with all the chores, from preparing meals to doing laundry. I had to work part-time jobs, and all the money I earned was taken away. I also had a small storage room under the stairs, and I had to beg for even basic necessities. By the time Alicia was in elementary school, she had heard about my mom from the relatives and started looking down on me. I worked several part-time jobs to save money and finally moved out. It was impossible for me to harbor any positive feelings towards Alicia, and I never told her about my marriage or that I had a child. A few weeks after moving, I was having tea and relaxing when the doorbell rang. When I answered, a man's voice mumbled delivery, and on the screen was a person looking down. I thought maybe David had ordered something and opened the door, only to be left speechless. "Oh, Alicia, why are you here?" "Hi, sis. Long time no see. Just thought I'd drop by," Alicia said while wearing the hat I saw on the intercom. She wasn't a delivery person, but my half-sister. Without waiting for a response, she walked past me, entered the living room, and sat down on the couch. I followed her in a hurry, stood in front of her, and looked down. "I figured you wouldn't open the door if you knew it was me, so I used a recorded voice. That's just low." "Geez, you're scary." I raised my voice at Alicia, and she feigned fear in an exaggerated way. However, it was clear she was just putting on a show, and the proof was that Alicia had a smirk on her face. "I came for a visit," Alicia said, speaking nonsense, getting a cold response from me. Yet she grinned and started explaining the reason for her unexpected visit. "But sis, you never even told me where you live. I got married, but my husband is always on business trips, and it's getting boring. Plus, once my belly starts getting bigger, moving around becomes a hassle, right? Everyone told me to come stay with you. Just go home. I don't even want anything to do with you." "Well, too bad. I already came here planning to stay with you." Listening to Alicia's audacious words only irked me further. Under my breath, I muttered, "Typical of a kleptomaniac's daughter." Hearing that, my anger reached its peak. "Get out. I never want to see your face again." "What's all the fuss about?" "People outside can hear you," David said. I was at a loss for words, surprised by David's unexpected return at such an odd hour. As I struggled to explain, Alicia stood up and walked over to David, intertwining her arm with his. David didn't seem to mind. In fact, he looked quite pleased. "Oh, Alicia here. Welcome, David. My sister was being mean. I thought it'd be nice to stay with you until the baby is born. But is that okay?" "Of course. I'd be thrilled if you're okay with it. You can stay as long as you want." I stood there in disbelief, silently observing the exchange between David and Alicia. The intimacy they shared seemed more like that of lovers than mere siblings-in-law. "David, what's going on?" I managed to utter, but he dismissed me, accusing me of being jealous of my cute little sister. His words left me speechless, considering I had confided in him about my family situation before our marriage. "We have a spare bed in the guest room. You can stay there," David offered casually. Alicia seized the opportunity, expressing her desire to sleep in the same room with him. Their mushy conversation gave me a headache, and as they went to the bedroom arm in arm, I couldn't shake a bad feeling. Peeking into the room after several minutes, I discovered them embracing each other, living out what felt like a dream for Alicia. "The baby is thrilled, too, living with Daddy," Alicia exclaimed, dropping the bombshell that David was the father. As they kissed, I watched through the crack in the door, tears streaming down my face. From that day on, they treated me like a housemaid. I complied, but silently began gathering evidence against them, contemplating divorce. One day, Alicia arrogantly demanded I leave the room, claiming she, a pregnant woman, needed space. The spiteful look on her face contradicted the gentleness usually associated with expectant mothers. Looking at David for support, he sided with Alicia, causing any lingering feelings I had for him to vanish. Still, a touch of sadness remained as David happily took Alicia's hand, sealing my decision to leave. "I'll leave tomorrow," I declared, prompting an elated David to suggest I find somewhere else to stay that night. "This is now my and Alicia's home." I subtly nodded, leaving them to enjoy their laughter while they could. Stepping outside, a grin formed on my face as I contemplated what lay ahead. That night, I checked into a hotel, making plans for the next phase. The following day, I scheduled a moving company and headed to City Hall to start anew. Excitement and thoughts of newfound freedom kept me awake, but my spirit remained high. To my surprise, upon returning home, I found the moving company already confused, as the house appeared empty. A small box with a note greeted me, containing some of my cherished belongings carelessly thrown in. Adding insult to injury, David's wedding ring lay at the bottom of the box. Anger surged within me as I discovered the house in disarray, with evidence of David and Alicia's escapades. I led the movers to pack their belongings, then found a note on the dining table announcing David and Alicia's 6-day trip abroad and requesting the house to be cleaned. The note mentioned that the divorce would be finalized upon their return. David's utter self-centeredness left me dumbfounded, but his absence made executing my plan much easier, and secretly grateful that I had the movers pack all my belongings, I left David's wedding ring on the kitchen counter before departing the house. After some contemplation, I purchased a place near Emily's university, which happened to be on sale. The one-bedroom apartment was cozy, and I cherished the solitude it offered. On the day David and Alicia were set to return, my phone incessantly rang. Without checking, I knew it was them. Answering with a nonchalant hello, I was met with David's frantic voice demanding an explanation. "What the hell is going on?" he shouted. Remaining calm, I replied, "What do you mean? What's going on?" David, fuming, informed me that the house was gone. Bursting into laughter, I explained, "Well, it was my house, and if I'm not going to live there, why keep it? We were living there, weren't we? Don't worry, everything's safely stored in a storage unit. I'll text you the location and access code." David demanded I bring back the house, but I retorted that it was under my name, and the money used to build it was from my investments, not a dime from him. David seemed to recall his lack of involvement when the house was built, a fact he had conveniently forgotten. Claiming the baby to be his niece or nephew, David pleaded for me to do something about the house, as Alicia was in a tough spot. I informed him that I had known about their relationship since Alicia barged into our house. I had been gathering evidence, including recordings from a high-end baby monitor Alicia had me buy during a fit. The monitor captured everything, even in the pitch dark. Upon revealing this, David was at a loss for words. Cheerfully, I mentioned that the mailbox might have something for him. David checked it, discovering a certified mail. I explained that it was about the payment, and there was one for Alicia too. Unfazed, I insisted it was compensation for their betrayal. Ignoring his plea to talk to his lawyer, I ended the call. A barrage of calls followed, which I ignored. My old phone, used for evidence, wouldn't be an issue if left alone. After an hour of incessant calling, David seemed to give up. The attorney reached out, sounding weary. The next morning, a relative from my father's side called on my new phone, likely having obtained the number from Alicia. Expecting scolding, I recorded the call. The relative demanded an apology to Alicia, who was pregnant, and insisted on a new house as compensation. Unyielding, I refused to apologize to the woman who had an affair with my husband. I asserted that Alicia should apologize and pay compensation. When accused of being a kleptomaniac's child, I retaliated, stating that Alicia's actions were reflective of her father's betrayal. I instructed them to relay a message to Alicia to never get involved with me again, though I doubted she would have the chance. Hanging up on the babbling relatives, I felt the refreshing release of pent-up emotions. I contacted my lawyer, determined to bring Alicia and David to justice. The thirst for revenge lingered until I witnessed the dumbfounded expressions on their faces during our discussion at the lawyer's office. Alicia appeared utterly miffed, while David wore a grumpy expression, showing no remorse. Surprisingly astounded, rather than angry at their self-centered comments, I laid out divorce papers in front of them, accompanied by another set, the marriage license, offering a reduction in compensation if they signed the latter. David snatched the pen from me and signed without hesitation. Alicia, smirking, followed suit. Placing the signed documents in a folder, I gave them a big smile. "I'll submit these to the county office," I announced. Alicia, with a dumbfounded expression, tried to argue, but I revealed that the divorce was already finalized in mediation the day before. Her lack of awareness stemmed from disregarding multiple summonses. As Alicia and David processed this information, I dropped another bombshell: the possibility of David denying the father-child relationship with the unborn child. Alicia stared in shock, and David, realizing the potential consequences, looked pale. Between compensation and child support for another man's baby, I wished them luck. However, David attempted to reconcile, citing Emily's presence. Just as he changed his tune, the lawyer's office door swung open, revealing Emily. Her harsh words stunned David, frozen in shock, while Alicia, insulted, shook with rage. Emily cut ties with David, expressing her intention to live with me, referring to Alicia as that loose woman. Unable to respond, Alicia faced Emily's verbal onslaught. I delivered the final blow, revealing David's financial limitations and asserting ownership of the house and car. Alicia's plan to extract money seemed to unravel, leaving her pale and stunned. As I left with my lawyer and Emily, I left them to their newfound reality. That evening, having dinner with Emily for the first time in a while was delightful. I filed for divorce, and around the time Alicia's waiting period for remarriage had passed, David and Alicia submitted their marriage license. The witness section bore my signature, along with Alicia's ex-husband, who had shared crucial information. News circulated that David, involved in an affair with Alicia at work, got fired for misusing travel expenses for secret getaways. He now struggles with part-time jobs. Alicia, taking care of the child, faces financial difficulties after being dumped by her boyfriend. Her attempt to sabotage my family had backfired. Meanwhile, Emily enjoys college life, and I've been leading a relaxed life with my stock dividends. Surprisingly, I've developed a closer bond with Alicia's ex-husband, who affectionately calls me Catherine. Recently, he reached out for an important talk, making me feel a bit restless as I sit in front of my vanity, my face flushed like a smitten young woman. It's inconceivable for someone lacking an academic background like yours to be involved in teaching, particularly since it could adversely impact her academic performance. Upon discovering that I was providing academic support to my niece, my sister-in-law directed her anger towards me. "Sophia, why are you associating with someone like her? What if you end up like her?" My sister-in-law seemed to perceive my presence as something detrimental, her cold attitude testing my patience. "Amy, think before you speak. Who do you think contributes to our comfortable life? Isn't it because Mary works hard at home?" In response to my mother-in-law's gentle words, my sister-in-law became even more emotional. "Why are you defending her? Isn't it her duty to handle household chores? She's not just doing housework. She works hard and contributes a lot to the household. You just gallivant around without contributing. If anything, you should be grateful to Mary. Do you really believe she's working earnestly? I can't imagine someone like her being interested in essential tasks." My sister-in-law then impulsively grabbed my desktop computer and threw it out of the window. "What are you doing? You're probably pretending to work hard without achieving anything. Leave this house immediately." I rushed outside to check on my computer, but it was damaged beyond repair. I had also lost valuable work data. Her immature actions genuinely shocked and disappointed me. I couldn't fathom continuing to live together under such circumstances. I have been tolerating it for the sake of my relationship with my husband and mother-in-law. But this incident pushed me beyond my limits. I left a message and decided to return to my parents. I am Mary, 29 years old. Last year, I started a new life with my beloved husband, Scene. Initially, we imagined living in a city apartment as we both worked nearby. However, Scene was always concerned about his mother's health, as she often experienced knee pain due to her previous job. Walking even a short distance required frequent breaks. Knowing this, we suggested living together. Upon hearing our proposal, she brightened up and said, "Mary, you want to live with us? I'm so happy." She's a genuinely kind-hearted person and warmly welcomed me. However, my sister-in-law, Amy, was fixated on academic backgrounds. During our first family meal, my educational background came up, and her demeanor changed. "Mary, you didn't go to college, right? Why would Scene choose someone like you?" She spoke to me in a somewhat harsh manner. "Sis, that's not a nice thing to say. Mary graduated from a national university, and Scene and I graduated from a famous private university. Couldn't you find someone smarter and more charming? What's the merit of marrying someone with a lower education?" My mother-in-law reprimanded Amy, saying, "Stop it, Mary." I'm sorry for the rude things she said, but I was already left speechless. I grew up with my hardworking mother after losing my father at a young age. Unable to afford college, I started working. In such circumstances, I was fortunate to work at a tax accountant office, and another opportunity came my way. My boss encouraged me, saying, "Why don't you try getting a certified public accountant qualification, Mary? I believe you can do it." Encouraged by his support, I embarked on a new challenge, hoping to secure better job opportunities, increase my income, and better support my mother. My husband understood my aspirations and conveyed my efforts to my sister-in-law. However, she remained cold and indifferent. Despite my genuine intentions, my sister-in-law's words cut deep when she uttered, "If Mary becomes pregnant, I hope the child won't take after her and will be intelligent." These words struck me unexpectedly, making me question if my feelings stemmed from having only a high school diploma. Perplexed, I chose not to escalate the situation, refraining from further discussion. Subsequently, my sister-in-law would frequently mock me over trivial matters, commenting on my cooking speed or reminiscing about her university days during casual conversations, seemingly to taunt me. What bothered me more was that she imparted similar comments to her daughter, Sophia. Sophia, being a kind-hearted child, obediently listened to her mother's words. My sister-in-law had high expectations for Sophia, now preparing for her junior high school entrance exam at S Academy Junior High. Although my sister-in-law took a part-time role there without a teaching license, she did it to avoid additional responsibilities. In front of me, she would deliberately tell Sophia, "Let's work hard together for the future." Frustrated, I bit my lip, lacking the courage to confront my sister-in-law and not wanting to drag my husband and mother-in-law into any trouble. Despite our infrequent meetings, I told myself that enduring her behavior would be okay. However, an unexpected development awaited us one day. My sister-in-law suddenly arrived at our house, holding Sophia's hand, and casually announced, "Mom, I got divorced. We'll be staying here for a while. Please take care of us." Both my mother-in-law and I were shocked by this sudden news, questioning why it happened so abruptly. My sister-in-law responded with a sigh, stating, "That man was so annoying till the end. He incessantly complained about the smallest things and never listened to me, yet he decided to divorce just because of that." Before my mother-in-law could continue, she stopped herself. "It's not just that," my sister-in-law replied with a bitter smile. "When I asked for alimony during the divorce, he only agreed to pay $600. After being together for so long, I was shocked by the amount. So, I thought it would be better to come back home where I don't have to worry about living expenses. Plus, I wanted to spend more time with you, Mom." She showed a slight smile and held her mother's hand. "I can live peacefully in this house." She then laid back on the sofa, scrolling through her smartphone, with packed bags and boxes scattered around the room. My mother-in-law and I were lost for words, watching this chaotic scene. A look of surprise and confusion was evident on my mother-in-law's face, and I shared those feelings as well. After a while, my sister-in-law handed me some of her clothes, asking, "Mary, can you wash these for me later?" I suggested that they should be sent to the dry cleaners, but she replied, self-centered, "You could do that much for me, right?" From then on, not only did her requests increase, but her troublesome behavior also intensified. One day, I discovered an oil-based pen stain on the laundry, which was clearly her doing. Upon seeing me sigh at the stain, she remarked smugly, "Oh, did I make a little mistake?" Then she added, "People with low education can't even do housework properly, can they? I wonder if there's any value in living for someone as useless as you." Her actions were causing my stress levels to peak. I reached my breaking point and finally decided to discuss it with my husband. "I work all day and still have to deal with housework when I get home. It's a real burden when she purposely makes things difficult." "I understand it's hard for me to see you going through this," my husband replied, listening to me quietly. He promised we'd find a solution together. That night, he confronted my sister-in-law about her behavior. My husband's warm words and actions always gave me a sense of security. However, from the next day, the harassment from my sister-in-law escalated even further. "You think he protects you, don't you? But to others, you just seem overly dependent. Relying only on a man doesn't make you strong. I don't have any intention of being dependent, depending on someone, being protected by them. To others, you might seem like a coward. Can't you stand on your own?" Holding back my emotions became harder with each of my sister-in-law's words. Despite facing many hardships in life and taking pride in overcoming them, I couldn't stand being hurt by her words. Seeing my distress, my husband seemed wary from the constant confrontations with his sister and began avoiding her. However, my sister-in-law's harassment didn't stop with me. It began affecting Sophia as well. She was keen on getting Sophia admitted to S Academy and was eager to send her to a tutoring school. "Sophia, what's this test score? You can't get into S Academy with these grades. I apologize if your grades don't improve. Maybe you will need to hire a tutor. But remember, it's up to how hard you work." Sophia, looking like she was on the verge of tears, nodded. She had already been going to a cram school every day after school, and getting a private tutor would make her lose any free time she had left. Feeling sorry for Sophia, I offered, "Do you want to study with me? I can help you with some things, really. Of course, I'm here for you." From then on, we started studying together, being careful not to get noticed by my sister-in-law. Although Sophia sometimes struggled, she grasped concepts when taught patiently. "Mary, I got 80 points on my test." "That's great," Sophia exclaimed. "You worked really hard." Sharing that success brought genuine warmth to our hearts. My mother-in-law, who noticed our efforts, sometimes cheered us up secretly by sharing delicious cakes with us. The time spent with her and Sophia became my healing moments. However, this peaceful time was short-lived. One day, while studying with Sophia, my sister-in-law unexpectedly returned home. Seeing us, she shouted, "What are you doing? You, with no formal education, are teaching her? I can't believe it. You might make her grades drop. Stay away." Furthermore, my sister-in-law slapped Sophia on the shoulder and yelled, "Why are you spending time with her? Do you want to end up like her?" The way she spoke about me as if I were contagious made my anger boil over. All the things I had been holding back just overflowed. As I told you before, I'd only graduated high school due to financial reasons. Judging someone solely based on their educational background is wrong. "What did you say?" My sister-in-law exploded even more. Hearing the commotion, my mother-in-law intervened, saying, "What's happening here? Mary is getting too close to Sophia." What if her low educational background influences Sophia? Do you know who's ensuring our comfortable lifestyle? Haven't you seen how hard Mary works at home? My mother-in-law's calm yet pointed words only fueled my sister-in-law's anger. Why are you defending her? Anybody can do household chores. It's not just chores. She's working hard, contributing to our household. All you do is go out and play, indifferent to what's happening at home. You should be more grateful. Are you saying she has a proper job? I can't believe it. With that, my sister-in-law grabbed my PC from the desk and threw it out the window. Why would you do that? That job you cherish so much probably isn't that big of a deal. Stop acting so pretentious. Just leave this house already. I rushed outside in a panic to check my computer, but it was broken beyond repair. It contained my work's vital data. Feeling anger and disappointment towards her childish behavior, living together with someone like this became impossible. For a long time, I had valued my relationship with my husband and mother-in-law, trying to protect our household. However, I had felt my limits. That night, I left a note and decided to return to my parents' home. The next morning, I received repeated calls from my sister-in-law, but I ignored all of them. However, within a week, my husband and sister-in-law showed up at my workplace. He strongly conveyed his apologies, saying, "Amy's completely wrong this time. Amy, please apologize sincerely." Though encouraged by Sean, her dissatisfaction was evident from her attitude. Why should I apologize? Sophia's grades have clearly dropped in her absence. Mary's presence must have been important not only for Sophia, but for you as well. Indeed, I had felt guilty deep down about Sophia's academic struggles. It seems there's no other way. Mary, come back home and support Sophia's studies. I never wanted to live with someone with your educational background, but I'll endure it for Sophia's sake. I had wanted to return for Sophia's sake, but her arrogant tone nearly extinguished that desire. If you truly care about Sophia's education, why don't you teach her yourself, Amy? You strongly recommended her to study for exams. So why are you neglecting her? I didn't want to be told anything by someone like you. Encouraged by Sean, her dissatisfaction was evident from her attitude. I encouraged Sophia to study for exams because I don't want her to end up in a lowly position like you. Is that really all there is to it? I want Sophia to grow up to be an elite adult like me. I want her to graduate from a renowned university and build a career like the one I've established at the prestigious S Academy. She continued flaunting her own success. Unable to bear the exchange, my company's director intervened and tried to resolve the matter peacefully. Excuse me. I assume you are Mary's family. Nice to meet you. Yes, that's right. My husband greeted the director politely. I have overheard a little. I'd like to affirm that Mary has shown tremendous capability and contributed significantly to our company. Really? I never thought you'd hire someone with just a high school degree. Education doesn't solely define a person's abilities. Even compared to university graduates, Mary has been producing equal, if not better, results. My director's words left my sister-in-law with a surprised expression. Do you truly believe that? I think educational background determines one's status and value, the director responded. Carly, you mentioned you work at S Academy. May I have your name? My name is Amy Smith. You're Miss Smith. I've heard about your troublesome attitude and behavior. Are you implying Mary has been speaking ill of me? No, I haven't. I've heard about you from Mary, but I have heard about you from the principal and other staff at S Academy. Amy's eyes widened, clearly taken aback. Here's the reason. The director handed her a business card that clearly reads Academy Board Chairman. You're the chairman? Both my husband and I were utterly shocked, lost for words upon understanding the information on the card. Amy's demeanor changed instantly, her eyes filled with fear and surprise. I've heard about your behavior and issues within the academy, delegating your work, shirking responsibilities, and even discriminatory actions towards students. Numerous problems have been pointed out. In a panic, Amy responded, "That's not true." Of course, I was considering a direct response. Upon hearing this, my sister-in-law started to panic. I can't lose my current job. I just got divorced and did stuff to support my daughter and myself, she begged desperately, with a serious look on her face. The principal replied calmly but with deep understanding. Our school's policies and philosophies are clear. We cannot tolerate work behavior like yours. My sister-in-law was devastated and burst into tears on the spot. The next day, an official notice from S Academy confirmed that she had to leave the school. Unable to hide her shock, she returned home in confusion. Afterwards, she locked herself in her room, and occasional voices of anger and dissatisfaction could be heard. This situation started affecting the family dynamics. Her stress was often directed at Sophia, and the tension in the household grew day by day. How can you not even solve this simple problem for a sixth grader? This is unacceptable. You will not rest or sleep until you finish this textbook tonight, so make sure to get it right. Sophia had been studying under this strict guidance day after day, and her fatigue was evident on her face. I was worried she might follow Amy's path. Stop pushing Sophia like this. Think about what you're doing, my mother-in-law interjected, unable to bear the situation. Mom, shut up. I don't want to hear anything you say. Taking the situation seriously, my mother-in-law finally told Amy to leave the house. Amy, you can't stay here any longer. Leave now. Why should I be the one to leave? You're the one pushing Sophia to the brink and harming her mental health. If you care about her as your own daughter, leave this house now. I can't believe you're trying to take my daughter away from me. My mother-in-law asked the distressed Sophia. Sophia, what do you want? Do you want to stay in this house or go somewhere else with your mother? Sophia's answer was clear. I want to stay in this house. I'm scared to be with Mom. Shocked by these words, Amy lowered her head and cried. But my mother-in-law's resolve was firm, and she escorted her daughter out of the house. Reflect sincerely on your actions. What you did can never be tolerated. With that, my mother-in-law closed the door. Afterwards, my sister-in-law ended up losing her job and home. She tried various jobs, but due to her personality, she struggled, and her difficult life continued. With her gone, I returned to my mother-in-law's home and regained our peaceful daily life. Sophia regained her peace of mind and started to smile every day. When we learned that she wanted to continue her studies, we, as a couple, decided to support her. A year later, Sophia successfully passed the entrance exam to S Academy, as her hard work finally bore fruit. We felt genuine relief and joy. Now Sophia continues to work hard towards her dream of becoming a teacher, and we hope to continue supporting the path she has chosen.